I've gotten really bad about filming stuff and never uploading it, so we'll see if this ever makes it. But it is the tail end of spring, and I wanted to film a short update, see how things are going as the forest enters its third growing year of recovery since the fire. You can see that everything is looking particularly nice right now. Right in front of me, I have one of my older pippins. So this is an apple started from seed. And it's been given the stun method here. Sheer total utter neglect. And it's doing great. Just a little ways down the line, I've got another pippin. So this one top died, I believe, for the second year in a row. So we'll see if it manages to establish better this time around. But it's still alive. It's putting on some enormous leaves, trying to soak up the sun. Right next to that is a buffalo berry that I started from seed. I believe this is silver buffalo berry, if I remember correctly. Schefferdia argentea or argentea. I don't know how to pronounce those things properly, but really falling in love with plants in the Elaeagnus family. They're just so striking. Those scaly leaves. Just a short ways away is this other buffalo berry that I also started from seed at the same time. Even more massive. Doing really, really well. This was planted next to where I planted the Gala apple, which was girdled by a pesky vole. But the rootstock is coming back, so I'll just leave that to grow and either let it do its thing or graft something else onto it, one of the two. My Arkansas Black is over there. See if I can get to it. This apple has not, it didn't do a whole lot its first 2 years. But it looks like it's finally established here. This branch here, like all of this, is new growth this spring so far. So finally doing stuff. It'd be really nice to have that. So hopefully it can remain and not get girdled like the Gala did. Here is the little wetland area. Really starting to come into its own. You can see thimbleberry establishing around there. There's a willow in front of me. Really pleased with this. There's a willow there, an aspen in the foreground, and then a really lovely western larch that I planted that is doing really well. This was tiny when I planted it. It was like down here. This year I plugged in a blue honeysuckle over here, aka honeyberry, aka hascap. That looks to be doing really well in that spot so far. More willow, aspen, birch. Trees coming in around here, which is really nice. Gonna shade the area. help with water retention. That's a white walnut, aka butternut. And it's funny that all these willows have come in from seed, because I stuck this one in the ground as a whip, just because there was not a lot of tree cover around. Better to have them dense though. Can always thin them later on if I need to. Behind this willow is the pollinator partner for that other honeyberry. If anything, that one's looking even better. This is the southwestern corner of the property. Corner post is right up there. So we're upstream from the wetland. Got new friends here. Cornelian cherry, which is a type of dogwood, which is why common names are terrible. There's a blueberry behind it over there. I got 3 blueberry plants from Lowe's of all places, because they were super cheap and they had just come in, so they weren't too neglected or terrible yet. Here is another Cornelian cherry. There's another blueberry in amongst this thimbleberry there. The thimbleberry is just volunteering. It's a good spot for it, it's fine. Here's the 3rd blueberry plant, and this one actually already has blueberries on it. Pretty cool. There's tons of white clover in here. I did throw out some clover seed at one point, like 3 years ago. So I don't know if that was me, or if it just came in when they logged the neighboring property over here. But either way, this is a heavily disturbed area, so it colonized it quite readily, and is fixing nitrogen and building organic matter, so it is a welcome friend. Just below that, kind of the next swale down here, I put in a couple of apple trees. These are M111 rootstock, and then I grafted onto them some new varieties. This is pink lemonade. The graft is just starting to take, which is good to see. I got 3 grafts out of that pink lemonade scion, and I think all 3 of them are taking. Definitely 2. The next one down is also M111 rootstock. The scion is cherub. I got 2 grafts out of my cherub scion, and it doesn't look like either one are taking so far. But either way, I'll let the rootstocks grow. Can always try to regraft them later. Here's another look at this southwestern area. Those Cornelian cherries, white clover, apples. This was one of the areas that I wanted to focus on this spring. Didn't get a whole lot done here, but that's better than nothing at all. And as we swing around here, you can see lots more white clover. So they bulldozed all of this when they logged that neighboring property. We've since made really clear where the property line is. So hopefully that is the last time that they do something like that. And then planting trees in here should help. I'm going to do another swale here, probably bury in at least one of those logs. Oh, there's a pretty one. Oh, the fireweed is starting to go off. Just starting, though. Behind me, I don't know what this one is. I think I've looked it up before, but I don't remember it right now. Looks like something in the mint family. We're just below the wetland area next to the stream. This is an American persimmon, which I put in a long while ago. It's entering its 3rd year, and it has continued to survive but not thrive. So I keep hoping that at some point it will actually fully establish itself and start to pop off, but not yet. You can see top dieback, and yet it is alive. Just a short ways from that, this is a big honeyberry. So earlier this year I dug up one of my initial 2 honeyberries and separated it out. The other one had died, so this doesn't even have a pollinating partner. But I'm going to continue to propagate it and grow it, and then when I do get a pollinator for it, I'll have a whole bunch of honeyberries, hopefully. And then another survivor but not thriver is it's another apple pippin, little seedling, and this is actually one of the oldest ones, and it has continued to survive but just grow incredibly slowly. I guess maybe like a naturally dwarfing variety or something. I don't know. I think it's fun. I'm just going to continue to monitor it and see how long it just continues to chill. So I was just standing right there. That honeyberry and apple are right there behind the mock orange, so you can't see them. But there's another new friend right here. This is a medlar tree that I bought from my absolute favorite local nursery. This overwintered at their nursery 3 years, so it's actually pretty well established to our area already. So hoping that it does awesome things. It flowered earlier in spring, so those flowers are done. Can't tell if it's going to try to set fruit or not, though. Either way, wonderful addition. Medlars are gorgeous trees. And super late hanging fruit, which is always appreciated. So this is kind of a new path. So a lot of new planting along it, of course. We've got a Vaccinium here. One of our wonderful black huckleberries. It's just a little tiny thing right now, but it's planted in a stump, which is what they tend to like. So I'm hoping that that one does well. See all this vetch fixing nitrogen for me. This is a Keats tree. This one is actually sold as a dwarfing rootstock for pears, so I don't know what the fruit quality is going to be like, but I'm going to grow it out and fruit it anyways. This is a fun one. So this is another black huckleberry that looks like a stump, but it's actually a bit of cedar log that I was cutting for firewood. And it had, the center had like burned out. It was a rotted center of a cedar, which I'm sure you've seen before. And when the fire came through, it had burned out. So this was this really wonderful, like, natural pot it had a, 2-foot hole in the tree here. So I dug a big deep hole and I buried this in there. And it had already got like little holes in the bottom. So it's like a natural plant pot. And then I buried it into the ground. So that should retain water really well and be a perfect habitat for that black huckleberry that's down there that you can't quite see. The ocean spray is getting ready to pop off. This is mock orange. Most of the mock orange is already flowering, but way down here by the creek it's quite a bit cooler. And that one is just getting ready to go. So this is the kind of initial food forest area. Some successes, some failures. There was an American plum here. Its roots got eaten by a vole. The tree actually looks like it's still alive. I just pulled it out because it had nothing holding it in the ground anymore, and I stuck it in a pot, so I'm hoping it's able to put out more roots, and then I will replant it somewhere. This is another American plum. Looking really nice. Got lots of anise hyssop growing around it. So I seeded that anise hyssop a couple of years ago, and it is looking healthy and established. Lavender that my mom gave me. This is the area that's turning into a strawberry patch, slowly. You can see my thyme is flowering. I started that thyme from seed, as well as the oregano right here. And then the strawberries are a mixture of cultivars and wild strawberries. And I'm just letting them spread. And then when other stuff pops up, like say this fireweed right here, I just become an herbivore, right? I just chewed it down. And so far that's working really well. There's another apple pippin over here. This is one that I started last year. It got eaten by something all the way down to the ground, but is reshooting. You can see some strawberries growing in front of it too. Some comfrey. My sister-in-law and my brother gave me that. Really excited to have that in here. There's another American plum. Funny enough, this one was doing the worst out of all of them, and then now it is just exploding with growth. Which is why I always let those trees that don't look like they're doing much just hang out, because sometimes they establish and just pop off. So that's super cool to see. One of my initial plantings. There's a black currant right there, which is also one of the early plantings. This serviceberry, which I even put a stake in the ground, but I've still yet to tie up, because I want to train it to be a bit more tree-like someday. This is probably one of the most exciting pippins right here. So this I started from seed last year, and it was the most vigorous. You can see it's better part of 2.5 feet tall, and it is remaining super vigorous. Has really wonderful flat branch angles naturally. I didn't do that. The tree did that on its own. Really lovely vertical growth. So if nothing else, this will probably make a really nice rootstock. But hopefully it's just an all-around great tree. And then on to one of my favorite pear seedlings, starting pear from seed as well. And this one, last year, it had this really lovely purple color, and I was like, ooh, I'm excited to see if it keeps doing that. And sure enough, this year, still lovely purple and bronze. So more failures. This is where one of the honeyberries was. Not there anymore. Just didn't seem to do well in that spot. I think maybe it's a little too dry, a little too exposed for the hot summers. This is where another one was. This is the one that was doing better, but still not great. I dug it up, separated it, planted it out to like 6 new locations. I stuck a Lucy Rose apple here. Really unhappy with the quality of that apple. You can see I bought it that size. It was only living up to there, put out new leaves, and then died back. So I don't know if the variety is just particularly weak or what. It wouldn't surprise me. It is a red-fleshed apple, and some of them are, they're not fully bred yet. But the rootstock is alive, so once again, same story. I'll let that rootstock grow and maybe graft something else to it. Another pear seedling. This was another that had reddish leaves. Certainly not like the other, and then definitely the case this year as well. Excited to see what they do, though. Got a really lovely mock orange there. Same story down by the creek. Not flowering yet, but soon. I'll show off some more of those flowers. And then another pear seedling there. And then I've got new arrivals here. I tried planting some California hazelnut down here, and every one of them was girdled by voles. So apparently the voles do not want hazelnut growing down here. However, I went ahead and bought some sea berries, which they don't look super happy, but I literally just bought them. This is how they looked, so hoping I can nurse them to health, and they're happier now that they're in the ground instead of a pot. There's one, and then there's another right here. And this one's actually already looking a little bit better. And once again, just really, really falling in love with plants in the Elaeagnus family. So these ones are not Schafferdia, these are Hippophae rhamnoides, I believe. But Elaeagnus family. More narrow leaves, but you can see that same color, the same kind of scaly texture, lighter undersides with golden stems. Really pretty. Someday, these will have just tremendous amounts of bright orange berries on them, hopefully. Over here next to the stream, got another one of my early plantings. This is a white currant. I was hoping for a really nice fruit set this year because it flowered a bunch. And there is some. But not as many as I would have thought based on how many flowers were on it. But it was the first year that it had a whole bunch of flowers, so, you know, it's progress. And then I'll check on the other plants, because, you know, it might have just not got pollinated as well. There's another white currant. over there. Can't you see it? In amongst that thicket of fireweed and thimbleberry, I can just barely make out the leaf, but it probably doesn't even show up on camera. But that plant is smaller, and I didn't see as many flowers on it, so perhaps next year will be the year for currants. This one, not something that I planted, but just super thrilled about it. That's birch coming back from their root. It's that birch tree, so top killed from the fire, but the tree is still alive, as most of the broadleaf trees here survive the fires, and it is thriving. I'm going to try to get in here and show you how girthy this thing is. I can't get down to the base, it's so thick. But this tree is like 2 inches in diameter already. It's really nice. Here is another black currant. Again, in the kind of surviving, not thriving department. It's got some berries on it, although this year it has sent up a whole bunch of new stems, so perhaps it is on the cusp of thriving. We shall see. I had an American an American chestnut over here, which was previously doing really well, but I think the extreme cold that we had this winter knocked it out, because all 3 of my chestnuts did not come back this spring. Look at how dense and beautiful this is. A whole bunch of wild thimbleberry. If you've never had thimbleberry before, it's a close cousin of raspberries. It's a bramble fruit. It has these enormous leaves. Really nice big flowers. And then these turn into a really, really soft raspberry-like fruit. So they come off like a raspberry where it leaves the center on the stem, if you know what I'm talking about. But they're super soft, they're fragile, so not really something you'll ever see in commercial cultivation. But they have like a concentrated 10 times strength raspberry flavor. Really, really nice as far as wild edibles go. Maple's coming back. This is going to be a forest again in no time. One of the plants that I've tried and just had no luck at all with so far is kiwi. But I am trying again with a different species and in a different spot. I think I was trying to grow Actinidia arguta before, aka hardy kiwi. And I think I was just planting it in a spot where it was getting too much sun. They tend to like full sun, but our sun exposure here in the summer is especially ferocious. It's a beautiful, misty gray day today, but in the next couple days will be the summer solstice, and we will have a big warm-up, and we will have 16 hours of just intense, hot sunlight. And full sun, plants that like full sun generally means like 6 hours of sun. So I can plant things in mostly shaded areas that want full sun, and they tend to be happy. So that's what I'm trying with this kiwi down here. And it's also a different species. So I wasn't sure. The other ones are supposed to be cold tolerant to like -20. We did see temperatures right on the edge of -20 this winter. But I think it's mostly the sun and the heat that they were not liking. So this one is down here right by the stream, next to this old, I think this was a willow. Killed by the fire, but nice structure, so I'm hoping that this kiwi will grow and climb it. This is actually a male. If it does okay, then I'll go ahead and pick up some females. because the males tend to be less bred anyways. So if this one survives, the females definitely should. Oh, and this is Actinidia colomitica, aka Arctic kiwi, Arctic beauty. These are really pretty plants. Even the males, they have really, when they're fully established, they'll get really pretty variegated, like pink leaves. Really nice. So hopefully that actually does well this time around. That's far from an exhaustive list of what's going on down here in the lower section. But I want to move things along. I've already got a ton of footage, and there's still so much to see. Up here, a little bit higher upslope, so I was just down here in the food forest section and upstream that way. These willows here, doing really well. Natural recruitment. I've got recruitment of, I think that's birch, maybe alder. In through here. So this is where the spring is. Maples are doing just phenomenal. Coming in really strong. That's one of my golden currants, also doing really, really well. Still not a lot of fruit set, but again, hopefully the currants will come into heavy production soon. I've got a peach seedling there. That died back, but has shot up and is looking much better. So if it takes a couple of years to get established, that's fine. A whole lot of apples and such that are going to need to go out eventually. Let's see, this is one of the pink lemonades, and yeah, sure enough, graft is taking. That's nice to see. And then, as I was alluding to before, there's a cherub. Doesn't look like any growth on the graft. This is a flowering quince of some kind. I think possibly a Chinese, maybe a Japanese, I don't know. I need to plant it somewhere. More apples getting grafted. Yep, there is the other pink lemonade, so all three grafts are taking. What is that? That's a cherry crush. No growth on the graft yet, but we shall see. The scion looks to be alive still. That's another cherry crush, and it is doing phenomenal. Lovely to see. More maple. Only slightly higher upslope, and sorry if I'm super out of breath. I'm walking up a steep slope with heavy stuff. But here is the mock orange flowering. You can see how phenomenal it is. If only it was smell-o-vision. You can see even all the way on the opposing hillside, you can see little bursts of white. You can see these willows and maples up here. Really incredible regrowth. And that's where I'm headed right now. Well, the sky is already clearing up. We're down here just below the easement road. This was a focus area last spring. So I cut in swales here, and I planted a whole ton of stuff. Mostly these characters. Apples from seed, and black locust from seed. The black locust surprisingly being such weedy trees, are not doing super well so far. This one is doing fine, but they all top died considerably in their first year, which is kind of to be expected, especially because I sourced these seeds from outside the area. But, you know, several of them are alive, and every one that survives is a victory. The apples are doing surprisingly well. There's actually a ponderosa seedling right there, too. There's a few pears mixed in here as well. There's a pear. Or is it? Yeah, that's a pear. Sometimes they look pretty similar to the apples. And some anise hyssop also started from seed. I like planting these around the fruit trees as like an aromatic confuser, repel rodents. No idea how well that actually works or if it does at all, but you know, I like anise hyssop, so why not try it? This one's an apple. And you can see these are planted pretty dense. These are only about 5 feet apart. I like planting things dense. Can always thin them later if you need to, but honestly 5 feet's probably plenty of space. But all along this row, there are apples and black locusts planted. Pretty much all of the apples are alive. Most of the black locusts are not, which is just funny to me. But there's also tons of natural regrowth and regeneration. Ponderosa recruitment. These are really popping off this year. So, you know, that's 2 years of growth. And that's so far this year. So already more than doubled its size. The natives tend to really pop off in their 3rd year, in that 3 to 5 range especially. Got maple regeneration after the fire. Doing really, really well. I planted a bunch of larches down here. They were one of the first things in the ground. This was all just black char. At the time that I planted these, I didn't know if anything was going to come back in here or how well. But yeah, really nice to see them in the mix. And then same story, these guys are going to start creeping above the vegetative layer here in the next couple of years and really showing off. Here's a great example of an apple started from seed and everything that I was talking about. Doing really, really well. Planted next to a black locust for nitrogen fixation. This was actually 2 in 1 seedling cell because I had 2 seeds that sprouted. This one tried to come back, but we've had a lot of really late frosts. It actually frosted just a few days ago. Just a few days before summer. But it looks like maybe still alive. You can see a little bit of regrowth from the base there, and it looks like a little bit of green poking out. So we won't give up on him yet. But a lupin volunteered right next to this apple tree, so still got some nitrogen fixation happening. Always nice. And then we'll pop down here. That's one of the best examples of maple regrowth. There's those willows that we saw from the other side. We were over there somewhere. And again, fireweed just starting to show off. So here we are under this maple tree, if you can call it a maple tree, because it has so many stems at the moment. Believe it or not, I've actually been thinning these. You can see I've bent down some branches here. That's to allow light for this larch that I planted, again, before this maple showed any signs of regeneration. But it's It's getting just enough light to stay alive. It's looking a little bit sparse and it's reaching a little bit, but as long as I keep knocking back these internal branches, which I should do for airflow anyway, then it will eventually creep up over this maple. Because this maple is going to top out at maybe 35 feet, and this larch can do 150 no problem. And we have one of the best examples of the larches that I planted. This one out here on its own, getting lots of light, and it's right in the middle of the draw, so it's getting a lot of water as well. Doing really, really well. You can see it's about an inch in diameter now, and it's coming up on 4 feet tall. Not quite there yet, it doesn't look like, but close. And then what I wanted to show, that's how tall it was when I planted it. It grew a little over a foot, right around a foot, that first year, and I was watering it. Last year, I did not water this tree. It only grew yay much, but it still grew. This year, still not watering it, has already put on 6 inches. So once they get established, they get going. And then right over here next to that, got another really nice apple going from seed. This branch is broken off, but still partially attached. And then Gumi. Gumi started from seed. So that's the third member of the Elaeagnus family that I've showed off. I believe these are actually in the genus Elaeagnus too, right? Elaeagnus multiflora, I think. Either way, it's going to be fantastic. And these larches, they're all throughout here. They're real hard to pick out right now. But eventually, they're going to start peeking their heads up above that vegetative layer, and they will stand out. There's like 3 in amongst the branches of that willow. Alright, I think this is probably getting a little bit long for most people's taste, but it's mostly for my sake anyways, so that I can look back on it. And this is the last area that I'll show for now. So that's the area below the easement road. This is, believe it or not, there's an easement road right there. Doesn't look like much of a road right now. But this was the area that I wanted to focus on this year, because it was the most devastated. Believe it or not, it would look the same as that over there, just across the property line. But I've been taking steps to prevent erosion already, and I expanded that dramatically this year, and I planted a bunch in here, started mulching around the natives that were regenerating. There's one of the locusts. That's actually still alive, which is nice to see. That's one of the ones I actually really want to live too, because it's going to be just east of this easement road, so it's going to offer some shade there in the early morning. And it's south of the path that I'm on right now, so same story. Offering shade for trying to walk up and down here in the summer when it's hot as hell. There's another locust over there, too small to make out in this frame, but trust me, it's there and it's still alive. And then lots of really nice recruitment in here. Got an aspen. We've got tons of the ceanothus popping off. So that's going to spread and fill in and kind of help to cover the ground here and be a natural mulch and ground cover. There's another really lovely aspen there. We've got a ponderosa really starting to pop off. That's mostly natural regeneration. I transplanted a few of those in there, but let's see. I dug this swale in. There was just a little bit of a tail here where it was like designed to pull water off the path, but I dug it in the rest of the way, all the way to the property line over there. I planted an oak right there. So that's a Oregon white oak, Quercus garryana. I've got a couple of those, and they both survived winter. Both survived their first summer and their first winter. So hopefully they continue to thrive. Just upslope. I didn't dig in a swale here, but I laid a bunch of debris on contour. So I can choose to dig it in later or just continue to build it as a debris line there. I forget what you call those. People have a special name for it. It's a huge patch of Ceanothus. You can see some of the logs that I've laid out here. One of the other oaks is planted in there somewhere. No way you're going to see it unless I walk over there. And the video's already getting long. I did a lot of thinning in here earlier in winter, but I haven't chipped this stuff yet, but it's piled here waiting for me and the wood chipper to come along. The really small stuff I just threw out on the ground, and the bigger stuff is what I laid out on contour. It's a really big dead Douglas fir here. This one's going to get left here. My hope is that it breaks off somewhere like right up there, because that will become really nice habitat. But either way, even if it falls over entirely, a good sized log like that will be nice habitat. So we've got another swale here. This one's actually dug in. You can't see it at all over there, but it's there. This was an old slash pile that I leveled out and worked into the swale. There's a black locust over here somewhere that I planted. Where is it? There it is. So that's one that I started from seed this year. And I sourced these seeds locally. I found a black locust tree and grabbed seeds from it. So hopefully they adjust a little bit better. There's another one. Just on the other side of this stump and fireweed. That's a California hazelnut. I'm going to give that guy a little bit of water here and there as I can this summer. Try to get him established. Have I mentioned how fucking fantastic mock orange is? And if only you could smell it. There's another California hazelnut along this swale. And some notes on that. In semi-arid regions, which, believe it or not, because it doesn't look like it right now, we're in a semi-arid region. It will dry out over the next couple months. It's a good idea to plant in the swale. We don't see enough water for that to ever become waterlogged, and it's about the only way that we will maintain enough water to keep these plants going when they're first getting established. California hazelnut. That one's doing really well. It's put on a lot of growth already. And then there's a California black oak behind it. So the black oaks that I got, you can see, they were not all, they were barely alive, just down at the base. But they did both survive their first winter, so that's good news. So black oak, California hazelnut. Got ponderosa pine coming in naturally. Of course, lots of ceanothus. I'm testing some black huckleberry up here. My hope, and same story, this is planted in a stump, so just like from down below by the creek. So I'm trying them in a couple locations. It's much, much drier upslope here, but we are in a wash. And then eventually, this will be in the understory of oaks and pines and hazelnuts. This was a ghost pine, California foothill pine. This was one that I didn't really expect to live. It was eaten by voles, and I dug it up and moved it, and it looked like maybe it was going to pull through, but it did not. But I have some others that are still alive a little bit further upslope. And you can see this isn't much of a swale. It's just a little break, right? A little break in the slope. Come up a bit and then back down. So it just catches any water that's trying to rush down the hill, especially in from like summer thunderstorms when we might get a whole lot of rain really fast. So anytime we can capture that, especially in the summer, is really, really helpful. I've got another black huckleberry there. I need to mulch a little bit more around this. That was just a first pass. I've got another black oak here. This one, not looking as good, but it's still alive. There's a larch. That one has survived thus far with absolutely zero love and attention from me, which is pretty spectacular considering that we're starting to get up the slope a ways. Mock orange down there. And then a second one. And that swale terminates right about there. That's where the property line is. So this has been the focus area thus far this year. And still looking like a meadow right now, but it will eventually be forest again. And then up here, you can't see it at all, but I have more logs laid out on contour, and then there will be more of that as we go up slope. But I think we'll end it there. This is probably too long and ranty for most people to watch anyways. But if you made it this far, thanks for checking it out. Alright, just kidding. Bonus footage. Just look at all that mock orange. In one of my early videos, I was walking up this slope right here and lamenting that big mock orange patch because it wasn't showing much of any signs of recovery yet after the fire. But happy to report that the tales of its demise were premature. Just incredible. All right, that's it. In the words of a wise man, go fuck yourself. Bye.